Hello everyone, this is me once again, and today I want to give you another video. I was thinking there's lots of people who are coming back to World of Warcraft, there's also lots of new players, and I've been with World of Warcraft since open beta, and before that with Warcraft franchise, since Orcs and Humans, since I was young, like very young, and I want to give you guys an idea and also run classes as I see them today in Legion expansion, that we are about to hit the new expansion soon. And hopefully it will give you an idea of what you would like to play or level a next character, since as you can see I have all of them at 110 except Priest. And let me start with Priest. I rank them rank 12. They will be like least fun class to play for me. My Priest, I made him back in vanilla when it was short to level them up, and until like level 40 you couldn't even solo mobs. So I know quite a lot about this class, and I can tell you today in Legion they're not a bad class. However, I find them extremely boring. You have two healing specs which dominating. One is Holy spec. Right now it has lots of AoE heals and overall heals, so it's dominating for PvP and PvE. Then Shadow spec, I don't know what they were thinking about making a Shadow spec like this. I thought they were going to differentiate heroes a little bit, you know, the specs. But Shadow spec, if you want to play Shadow Priest, just roll Warlock and don't have any problems with Priest at all. As a Discipline spec, it used to be like purely PvP back on Burning Crusade and so on, but right now it's kind of on a downside. It's not bad, but with Holy there covering so many roles and offering so much utility, it's best to go with Holy. So yeah, they're rank 12 because I find them primarily boring. They're also not OP, they're not bad, but they're rank 12 for a reason of that boredom. So rank 11 I would like to give to monks. It's unfortunate, I actually skipped some part of the expansion in Pandaria simply because I didn't like monks as a class altogether. And let me start it out with their Mistweaver spec. It's like probably the best PvP spec in game right now, but just because one spec is so good doesn't make the whole class being good. And I find them quite boring as well, because their melee DPS spec, what is it, Windwalk monk, right? They're not great. Like they're kind of a rogue type of thing without stealth, but you almost never see people play that, and very few can actually play them well. It's quite clunky. It has potential, but it feels like it's a little bit unfinished and clunky, not smooth for a gameplay. And then they have a tank spec, the Brewmaster spec, which is like meh. There are better tanks anyways, and it's also boring as well. Like you go through like similar rotations, and you have to do that fire breath and stuff. It's like if you want a tank, you just pick any other class but monk for tanking, you know. And that's why monks are not great. Like not only that, aside from Mistweaver specs, they just have nothing to offer at the moment. However, you can play any spec and they're pretty much fun. Blizzard did something good. They balance out heroes and classes altogether very well in this expansion. Of course, there's some a little bit stronger ones, a little better worse ones, and unfortunately, Monk is down to the worst one, unless you want just to Mistweaver it out. Then I will rank 10 will be Paladins. Yeah, you can see that I didn't really put enough time this expansion into this getting this guy, and what I can tell you about this healer spec is bad. There's pretty much every other healer that is better. Then you have a protection spec, which is probably the worst one, even worse than what is it, the Brewmaster from Monks. But you know, it's a little bit more fun. I would say it's a little bit more fun than a monk one to play. That's why it gives a paladin a little bit more points and going up in rank, in my opinion. And retribution, I don't know what they tried to do with retribution. I mean, it's sure it does damage, but back then it was supposed to be bursty and stuff, and then you had all the seals and all that cool stuff. Right now you're pretty much like a gimped warrior, like no burst, no nothing. You just kind of swing there, and cool, you can, you know, bubble heart like all times. But that's about it to the paladins. They're quite boring class altogether, but just because their specs, I'll throw them together, except the hollow one, are slightly better than for monk and for priest. uh, I would give them higher rank. I'm going to rank 9. Rank 9, I pick hunter. This is my old main. Well, I would still, like, my soul says this guy should be my main all the time. However, I don't like them this expansion. Um, they are not quite fun to play. Like, their only spec that is good right now is, and that's BM mastery, beast mastery, that is, and it's in best standing so far ever since vanilla. You have 2 pets, you do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it's all boring and it's same rotation over and over, and right now for me that spec is so easy to play, and being under geared I just pretty much kill everyone else. Extremely easy to play, and I almost got master, I mean martial back in vanilla on my hunter. And the reviews are coming for hunter. So BM is the best spec to play, but it's boring. Then we have survival. They reworked and finally gave us a melee spec, which is, God, we always wanted that spec. We always wanted that melee from, like, back in vanilla. However, even though they tried to balance it out, it's not smooth, it's clunky, there's lots of things to work off. Then they have traps that you shoot them off, and I don't see how it all working out. I want Blizzard to keep it the melee spec, but I want them to make it more smoother, more nicer. And then again, like back in vanilla, all we have is like back then they called different those abilities. Here we have that Lisa rate, then you have like a heroic strike or something like that. They kept all the boring abilities that don't differentiate. Sure, you do damage and stuff, but for survival it just doesn't work out at the moment. They need to smoother it out, and they need to make it look less like a warrior or something. They have to give it an identity to survival hunters. Then marksmanship, they killed it. They completely killed the spec. I mean, it wasn't in a good standing. Ever seen them, like, Burning Crusade was probably the best time for marksmanship hunters, and not because you could take that explosive shot. Back in the day it was instant cast, and you could replace that arcane shot, and it kind of played out well. You could run, kite, and do that. Right now, marksmanship spec is bad because all you have to do is spam your arcane shot, then wait out to cast your aiming shot, and in PvP it's nearly impossible to, like, let off the cast. Everyone has a kick or a silence or something. Everyone has so much mobility. You just cannot just stand on a spot and then shoot. Then they give you that wind arrow with a trace, which is complete garbage. It should just give you like a boost of speed, like instantly, no matter what direction you run, and that's it. That would have been much better after you release that, instead of making the trails that you have to stay on to gain that boost of speed. Completely garbage. So aside from casting an image shot and spamming an arcane shot, all you have to do is just pray to gods that you have enough procs from your legendary weapon and that explosive, not explosive shot, what is it? Well, that shot that procs, I forgot the name. And hope that that thing pops up often enough for you to do damage. That's about it about hunters and marks right now. Sure, you can play it well. I can play it out well, and for PvE it will work out. But for PvP it's complete garbage, and no matter how much I want to love hunters, this expansion BM spec alone is just not enough to bring them up higher in ranks. Then we are going up to rank 8. And for rank 8, where is this guy? I'm ranking Demon Hunters. I started out this expansion with Demon Hunters. I wanted to try them out. They're so low for 2 obvious reasons. For me, they're obvious. One, they have only 2 specs, which is completely obnoxious by Blizzard. They shouldn't have released a class with like one less of a spec. That's just bad. And then their tank spec, even though it's strong, I find it extremely boring and clunky. Like jump and then you go through your little rotations. There's not enough animations going on except that jump and your seals. But they're strong as a tank. They're strong as a tank. That's a given. Almost like Death Knights, but to those we get later. And then we have one more spec that's Vengeance. That's their only DPS spec. It's alright. It's like a mobile. It's just as mobile as Rogue, I would say, maybe even a bit more mobile. And I can say it's bad, but it just doesn't really click with me. I can play good, but I don't enjoy playing that spec. I find it not completely boring because you're always on the run, but it's too sweaty. It's too sweaty for my liking, and that would be it. And yeah, they're low down, that low on rank 8, just because they're lacking one spec, and their the like tank spec is very boring and clunky. So we are going to rank 7. Rank 7 I will give to my warrior. Where is he? That's not my warrior. Here's my warrior. Rank 7 is to my warrior. Good damage, good 2 specs, best tank in PvE and PvP. They're best, they have a best tank spec. Overall they're good, but we are getting closer to number 1, and they just being good and everything, like, or maybe above average on goodness, is just not enough to give it up for next rank. They are not boring, but because I played them every expansion, I feel that they're just the same. So if you like the old style, the way you played warriors back then, it's good. You can take it and you will love it once again. Each spec is great. Each spec does lots of damage. And there's really nothing bad I can say about the warrior class, but I also cannot say anything like outstandingly good about this class right now. Like nothing really happened for past, like since Cataclysm, I don't know, warriors didn't really change much. They just stayed kind of the same. Yeah, so there's rank 7. Going to rank 6. And rank 6 goes to, where's my guy? To Warlocks. Yeah, I didn't level him much this time, but there's something I have to tell you. This class is extremely OP at the moment, and that's probably what brings it up so much higher in the ranks. It's also fun to play. No matter which of the specs you play, they're all good, they're all fun. Then Affliction being like OP as always, the most OP spec for casters. There's no reason to play Shadow Priest, just roll, as I said, just roll Warlock. And then you have Demonology to summon demons. It's not OP, however, it's extremely fun to play. Like, you join in Battlegrounds, or you go there and you spam in these imps left and right, all those demons, and it's really spectacular, it's really nice, it's really beautiful, it's fun. However, it's not the best spec, and it's not quite OP. Well, situational, maybe. Then we go, what is it, Destruction. Destruction is pretty much your regular mage spec. It's like, it's good. It's good, but it's just like a mage. You cast your stuff, you have few dots, you have lots of burst damage there. It's nice, but it's just there. So Warlock strikes up because they have a fun spec, they have an OP spec, and then they have an average spec. An average spec, yes. So that's rank 6. Rank 5 I'm going to give to Shamans. Yep. Those beasts. So, why I give Shamans rank 5, and I can tell you one thing. This expansion is best overall for Shamans. They finally have enhancement spec improved so well that it's chaotic. It's a little bit hard to navigate at first, but once you get used to it, it's extremely strong. It's extremely smooth. You haven't, like, enhancement spec hasn't been this good ever since vanilla, ever since, probably ever. It's just the best specs for Shamans right now. They have so many strong changes, they do so much damage, There's no reason to skip these guys. And once again, for those of you who don't have much time to play various heroes, right, various classes, this class offers you heals, caster DPS, melee DPS, which is great. And all three specs are good. Healer spec is probably not the best one, not along there with top 3, I wouldn't put it, but it's still very strong, by far stronger than paladins, for example. Then you have a caster DPS, which is also like a blast. Like they slightly improved it from what it was in Warlords, and now you shell out so much burst damage going into Battlegrounds. I have a review for that, and giving you out a spec for Battlegrounds. You can roll and enjoy. There's just so much fun and joy seeing all those numbers pop, and you are always on top of DPS charts in Battlegrounds. And when you go to PvE to raid setups, of course, there's no hardship for you to pull out this damage. However, for elemental spec, you really lack in mobility. In PvP, people will be easily getting up on you. So because the shamans are so good, this expansion, they like Blizzard did lots of reworks. I would give them rank 5. They're incredibly great, and this is the expansion you would want to enjoy Shaman in any spec. Going to rank 4. What do you think, guys? Yes, I'm going to give it to Death Knights. This is my guy. First of all, they're OP, and that's why they're like so high up. Otherwise, I would have brought them down. Unfortunately, I don't find them extremely fun to play. Like they're on Holy spec. I completely do not understand Holy spec. It's like a melee Warlock. Sure, you do damage. Sure, it feels fine, but it's all HOTS and some damage. But I don't really understand that spec. I didn't give it a much thought or much play. However, it feels strong. It feels fun, and you can definitely do a lot. Like it's not a bad spec. Just because I didn't understand it, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually a good spec. Then we have Frost. Frost is best spec right now. Well, not best. His best spec are tanking. That's Blood, and Frost right now. It's just in best standing so far since Wrath of the Lich King. Lots of damage, lots of AoE potential. Like everywhere you see, like if you want to take that 1 DPS, DK is like for arena or something. DK is one of the for raids. Absolutely no problems. You're like doing well on chars. Extremely good amount of damage you're shelling out as Frost. And then you have, of course, Blood. Blood is like OP as hell. I give them, after Warriors for PvE, you have the best spec for tanking. That's Blood. It's extremely fun. You also do lots of damage for a tank spec. You can actually play tank as a DPS for PvP and just like break those people down. You just will feel how strong you are. You're nearly unkillable. People who play it right now know that. And of course, my video is for new or returning players. DK is one of those guys if you wanna like really melt faces. That's what you take. And Blood spec is like extremely fun, extremely good DPS. Only thing you cannot go and do like as a DPS, join a raid, because you still will lose overall in a raid setting on the DPS against like DPS classes or DPS specs. But for PvP, playing Blood is extremely fun, and it's OP. So DKs take rank 4. Now we are going to rank 3, and that's Mage. I find them extremely fun, extremely polished. I can't say they're like OP, but they are definitely above average. All 3 specs feel different, even though you're a mage, and how much difference you can get like with the same mage class. Here you have Fire, which is I use it for PvP mostly. Fire extremely fun. You have lots of burst potential. You have lots of mobility. There's lots of things you can do, splash and fire left and right. Great stuff, like extremely great stuff. I just can't stop enjoying Fire Mage in PvP. You know, I don't PvP like hardcore right now, but I jump into arena or even BGs to have fun, you know. And the melting faces with Mage is quite fun. Then you have Frost, which is extremely. It does like a ton of damage. Like top DPS right now, I would give to Mage, Frost Mage. However, it's more of a raid spec for PvP. You can use it in PvP, of course, but you have too many cast abilities that you have to cast, channels there, and because of that, it gives you people are really easy to kick your ass for everyone else. And then we have of course our arcane spec, which is a medium between frost and fire. Why I call it like a medium? Because it has burst potential, it has instant cast specs, and then it has some cast abilities that you cast like a frost mage kind of. They channel quite long, but they do a lot of damage. It also has a medium mobility, not as mobile as I find fire mages are. However, they're more mobile than frost mages, and like overall it works out. So each spec is very distinct. Each spec is very well shaped, and each spec is very strong. So mages, like, I really enjoy mages right now. Like, however, they didn't make my top they didn't make my #1 choice, and I will tell you why. So let's go to number 2. Having a rogue and a druid left. And guess what? Who is going to be rogue? That's my. I've been making rogue since Burning Crusade. I did have him up to 16 vanilla. I know a lot about these guys. I did hardcore arena back in the days with him, and I can tell you that they are the most fun class to play right now, and extremely strong. They have subtitle spec right now, which is best in class. Like, it all never been as good to play subtitle spec as it is right now. So much burst damage. You can melt tanks in PvP, like warriors and everyone else, pretty much alone by no help means needed. You just build that up with shadow damage, and extremely strong, extremely mobile, lots of burst, lots of damage, many escapes for that one. Then you have Assassination, which does lots of damage. However, it's kind of a little bit over time. You're more like, you have more dots that you have to stack. It's extremely strong, however, not as strong as Subtitle, because it lacks mobility for my liking. For PvE, you can use it. For PvP, it's a little bit hard to play Assassin because of that lack of mobility and escapes. You have to be like a clingy. You have to kind of jump on someone and hold them tight together. But still fun and strong. And then we have Outlaw. However, I don't like what they did with Outlaw. I prefer them keeping old school combat. We all wanted, our rogue was a range spec. Just give us dual like gunslinger with 2 pistols or something for combat instead. But no, they went there. Blizzard went their own way. They pretty much took away the combat specs and reintroduced it with the same pretty much concept, called it differently, and gave it like a 1 pistol ability that you shoot once in a pistol, which is completely garbage. There are some people that like that. Like that spec. I tried it so many times, and I just hate it. It's not good in my opinion. It's not it's not bad, but I don't enjoy it, absolutely. And it's not boring, especially when Subtitle and Assassination just stand out so far. However, overall, rogues are in a good standing. They are OP right now for damage. That's completely uncontested. Subtitle spec extremely fun to play. Assassination spec is another variety as well, fun to play. Outlaw, well, people, I'm sorry who didn't like what I say, but I'm not with Outlaw, unfortunately. But because they're OPs and their fun factor, the rogues are top choice, like among the top 2 choices for play. And the specs feel different, except that Outlaw. Well, it's feel different because it's crappy. And number 1 goes to Druids. Where is it? Here's my Druid. I've leveled my Druid in Cataclysm, so I don't know how they were back in Manila. Well, I know how they were, but I haven't experienced gameplay by myself there. And what I can tell, Druids are number 1 for various reasons. Especially for those new people that coming in or returning, or people who generally don't have time to play more than 1 class and they just want to be good at 1 class. This class offers you 4 specs. Yes, the only class with 4 specs. You have your tanking spec, you have your healing spec, then you have your melee DPS spec, and then you have your caster DPS spec. And why they're first? Because every single one of the specs are good. They're just maybe not OP somewhere, but they're just good or strong, and they have an OP spec. So we have bear spec, the tank spec. First of all, you don't only tank. It's not extremely fun. It's a little bit clicky. Its fun factor is not quite there. Well, it's there because you still have to shapeshift forms and do something in PvP. In PvE settings, it's extremely easy to play and extremely so it's OP spec kind of for PvE because you don't have to do much and you have lots of damage reduction naturally, and you also do a lot of damage. In PvP, you can even play like DK blood spec. You can play like with the damage and have lots of fun. Like bear spec is lots of fun in PvP, and it's extremely strong, and it does lots of damage. However, it's not the top one. DK one will be top for that. Then we go into restoration. Even though I said monks are number one, I kind of want to negate that opinion because I would give number one for healing to druids and monks. They're just as strong, probably the strongest healer among monks all overall, and especially for PvP, they're just extremely strong, OP to the point. So Feral, as I said, I like it more in Warlords. Right now, I don't know what they did with it, why they decided to change it that much, but it's not as strong. Sure, it was OP in Warlords, but they removed that clause of Shirvalach, which was fun to play, and they had like a good fun factor in it. Now you kind of play like an old school rogue, and it feels so bad because rogues are more polished right now and stronger than they were before. And then again, they forced you into this build. Not kind of forced, but it's the best build to go. They force you into kind of cleave build, and you have to, like, what if you don't like turbo cleave setups for PvP, or you don't want to be an AoE machine, right? What if you want just to do single target damage? Sure, you can do it, but because the cleave potential that they give through talents and stuff, you have to go that cleave build, and that's pretty much all you play. If that's for you, that's fine and it's strong, but if you don't go that build and you have to go like an old school feral single target damage, you're pretty much playing an old school rogue, which is gimped right now, and it's not good. It's hard to survive as a feral druid in PvP settings. In PvE, sure, you in the raids you do a lot of damage, but that's the only spec that I don't feel confident in being a good standing right now. But it's definitely still above average. And lastly, we are switching to Moonkin spec, and it's like it's almost OP. It's almost OP. Moonkin spec is great, and that's probably something you have to consider. This class is best if you just want to keep one class and enjoy every spec, because there's strong in every spec. Some specs are OP, and you will have lots of fun. So that's it for my top 12. Well, for my ranked classes for World of Warcraft, and hopefully for those new and returning players, you will get an idea of what you want to play this expansion or carry over to your next expansion. Have a great day.